Okay, let's talk about a chilling story from the dawn of the atomic age. It's about a single sphere of plutonium that became the stuff of legend and of nightmares. So, could a simple piece of metal actually be cursed? We're talking about a 6.2 kilogram sphere of plutonium that was so dangerous, so feared, that the scientists working with it gave it a truly terrifying nickname.
And this is the story of exactly how it earned that name. It's a story of two separate, horrifying accidents that pushed the absolute boundaries of science and human safety.
All right, Act 1. Our story starts in the top-secret labs of Los Alamos. It's just a few weeks after World War II has ended, on a late and, as it turns out, very fateful summer night.
A physicist named Harry Daghlian was in the lab, and he was working alone. What he was doing is called a critical mass experiment. Now, this is not your average day at the office. This was an incredibly delicate and ridiculously dangerous procedure. He was essentially trying to find the very edge of a nuclear chain reaction.
So just picture this. He is literally stacking these heavy, neutron-reflecting bricks around a plutonium core. By hand. I mean, this was just the raw, risky nature of early atomic research. Every single brick he placed was designed to bounce neutrons back into the core, nudging it closer and closer to going critical.
And then, in an instant, the unthinkable happened. That last heavy brick slipped from his hand and fell directly onto the sphere. And the whole room was just bathed in this eerie, silent blue glow. That is the telltale sign of a criticality accident.
We hear that word supercritical thrown around in these stories. But what was actually happening inside that sphere? To really understand what happened to Harry Daghlian, we need to get a grip on the insane physics he had just accidentally unleashed.
So here's the bottom line. By dropping that last brick, Daghlian basically created a perfect storm. The core didn't just start a self-sustaining reaction. No, it went into a total runaway state. It started growing exponentially, releasing this massive, invisible burst of energy and deadly radiation.
And for just a fraction of a second, this is what was happening inside that core. A completely uncontrolled atomic cascade. He had, for a moment, created a tiny, sputtering nuclear bomb. It didn't detonate, thank goodness, but it released a wave of absolutely lethal radiation.
25. Harry Daghlian died 25 days later from acute radiation poisoning. He was the first peacetime fatality from a nuclear accident. And the core, well, the core had claimed its first victim.
You know, after a tragedy like that, you'd think procedures would change overnight. But what's really astonishing is that just 9 months later, the very same plutonium core was right back at the center of another dangerous experiment.
This time, it's a physicist named Louis Slotin. He was brilliant, highly respected, but he was also known for having a bit of bravado. He was about to show a group of 7 other scientists a risky technique he'd performed many times before. It was often called tickling the dragon's tail. I mean, with a name like that, what could go wrong? And look at this setup. That beryllium hemisphere on top? It's basically a neutron reflector, just like the bricks in the first experiment. The entire thing, the balance between a successful measurement and a lethal accident, was resting on the steady hand of one man holding one simple flathead screwdriver.
And then, history repeated itself in the most terrifying way imaginable. The screwdriver slipped. For the second time in less than a year, the room filled with that same blinding, silent, blue flash as the core unleashed another wave of deadly radiation. But in that critical moment, Louis Slotin acted on pure instinct. Without even a hint of hesitation, he lunged forward and tore the heavy hemisphere off the core with his bare hands, absorbing the absolute brunt of the radiation. He knew exactly what had happened, and he knew what the cost would be. His split-second decision stopped the chain reaction and almost certainly saved the lives of every other person in that room.
This really shows you the horrifying intensity of that second accident. Slotin had received a much more severe dose of radiation. It was so massive that his body completely failed in just 9 days.
So 2 accidents, 2 deaths. This plutonium sphere was no longer just a piece of lab equipment. It was now officially known by its nickname, the Demon Core. And its legacy would change the field of nuclear science forever. Yeah, the deaths of Daghlian and Slotin were a brutal wake-up call. They forced a new era of caution. This is what led to the development of the remote-controlled machines and safety protocols that are totally standard today. But the core itself, this infamous piece of metal, it had one final role to play.
Its brief, tragic history came to a fiery end. Just over a month after it killed Louis Slotin, The Demon Core was placed inside a nuclear bomb and detonated during the Operation Crossroads tests, finally consumed by the very power it was created to study.
The Demon Core itself is gone, but its story is still with us. It's a powerful, tragic symbol of the world-changing force that science had just unleashed. It reminds us of the human price paid at the dawn of the atomic age, and it leaves us to grapple with a question we still face today. What is the true cost of progress?